Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us to discuss protecting yourself from common homeowner scams. I'm your host, Taylor Amstutz, one of our homeowner protection attorneys here at Tzedek, and I'm joined today by my colleague, our very own elder abuse prevention advocate, Lisa Anderson, who will be conducting the second portion of our presentation. So today I want to tell you just a little bit about Tzedek, and then we'll dive into a discussion on scams, specifically the PACE program in particular, what you can look out for, where to go if you think you've been scammed, and ways you can protect yourself and your home in the future. Ooh. So who is Tzedek? We have been around for nearly 50 years, and our attorneys and advocates have worked to provide a variety of free legal services in LA County. Lisa will tell you more about the elder justice team in just a bit, but the homeowner protection team that I'm part of focuses on preserving what is most often a family's greatest asset and tool for wealth building, the home. We work with low-income and elderly homeowners in LA County to prevent homelessness and preserve homeownership. So earlier I mentioned PACE. What is that? We all love the planet and we love making improvements to the spaces in which we live. PACE, or Property Assessed Clean Energy, has a program that has been represented as a way to do both, to finance energy efficient home improvements such as solar panels, and it's often advertised as a free program, but actually it works by collecting payments for home improvements through property taxes. And while the program was designed to give access to energy efficient home improvements, as you'll see, it operates at the expense of very vulnerable people. And before I continue, I do just want to note there are many good reasons to get solar. You can reduce your utilities and improve your fossil fuel consumption. And many people have great experiences with solar and home improvements. However, as you'll see today, we're not focused on the cases where that has been the case, but instead are talking more about the problematic situations that our team often comes across. So generally, PACE is sold door to door, and these improvements and financing often target seniors and lower income communities. The projects include solar, HVAC, windows, new roofing, different paint. Often it can include water systems. It's a variety of home improvements. And the contractors are the ones who arrange for the financing through PACE. Cities and counties partner together with private finance companies called PACE administrators. On our next slide, you'll see kind of a collection of all their logos, but I have just a few of the really common ones listed here. Once the work is finished, PACE administrators pay contractors directly after they've completed a certificate of completion, which, as we'll see in just a moment, is one aspect that has created a myriad of problems for homeowners. The bill for these improvements shows up on the next property taxes. So often people aren't even aware that they're facing this massive increase to their property taxes for quite some time. As I mentioned, here are those logos from the PACE administrators that we have seen pretty frequently. And as mentioned, PACE is often advertised as free or low cost, but generally, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And as you can see in this slide, it's a lot like a loan for significantly inflated work, and the assessment is paid over time. So the value of the work estimate in our example here is actually really generous for a tankless water heater, but just for argument's sake, let's say that the value of a tankless water heater and its installation is around $8,000. Theoretically, were you to contract through PACE, this could end up costing you nearly $80,000 over 20 years after the cost of the project, the inflated cost of the work, and the interest for that long-term loan. Not only are you paying a ridiculous amount for highly inflated work, but you may not even understand the gravity of its cost until it shows up as a very expensive line item on your property taxes. So continuing with our example, if your property taxes were about $1,600 a year pre-PACE, they could end up realizing a 333% increase, and this increase can inflate your mortgage payment or even cause issues if you have a reverse mortgage, as we'll discuss in just a moment. There are so many PACE problems and so little time, but here are a few more. Previously, lenders weren't even doing an ability to pay assessment, so the amount of these PACE loans was just based on the property value, which is determined by the amount of equity the owner had in the home. Now, they're supposed to be doing an evaluation of both your income and your debts to determine whether or not you're reasonably able to pay for this loan. However, it's unclear what, if any, consequences exist for failing to conduct this assessment of your ability to pay. So there are other ways that they can work around this requirement as well by miscounting debts and inflating a potential individual's income. And if that weren't enough, there's also a lot of unscrupulous marketing that goes on surrounding PACE. Contractors hire salespeople to sell this door to door, as we talked about, and these door to door salesmen often end up targeting older and lower income adults. The contractors frequently make the misrepresentation that PACE is a government-backed program, that it's free to seniors. And I just want to make a very important distinction that while PACE is authorized by the government, it is not a government program. And it is never, ever free. They may say there's no down payments, and this is true, but the work is not free and it must be repaid through your property taxes. There are quite a few other misrepresentations that they make, but we'll just end with this one, that the repairs can begin immediately. This is true. They may show up very early the next day at your home, but as we'll see in a moment, this violates your right to cancel the contract, which may be very important in getting out of one of these. Other issues related to workmanship, specifically by the contractor who's completing these improvements. They may do shoddy or incomplete work. The work may end up being ineligible for PACE. As we said, it's often vastly overpriced. It could not be permitted. There are a lot of permits that need to be acquired in order to properly and legitimately run solar panels, or they could do no work at all. So all this means you could theoretically be paying exorbitant amounts of money for a partially completed job or one that never even started. PACE can also limit your options if you're looking to possibly sell your home. It can violate the terms of some reverse mortgages, and mortgage servicers may impound taxes and insurance due to a PACE lien. So many mortgage lenders and government programs will not refinance properties with PACE, and it can limit your eligibility for FHA and VA loans. So this term has come up a couple times today, but the certificate of completion or completion certificates is something that the contractor has to get in order to be paid. So the crux of this slide is do not let a contractor persuade you into signing that certificate before the work is completed. Now I think we have a video on PACE in the news that I wanted to share. So just one moment.
I was scared. How am I going to pay this?
It's a county-approved program that's supposed to help you pay for energy-efficient home improvements. But a Team 10 investigation found some homeowners who blame the program for big tax increases that they can't pay, and even the possibility of losing their homes.
Our investigator, Melissa Masiha, is here, and it sounds like there's a certain group of people that are falling victim to this.
And Steve and Kim, we are talking about the elderly. The program is called PACE, which allows you to pay the loan through your property taxes. It's been up and running here in the county for more than 3 years. Close to 14,000 properties have this type of financing. But one consumer advocacy group says they have more than a dozen complaints from homeowners about people who aren't telling the truth about it.
Maria Silva's Del Cerro home is her life,
And it's my house for 28 years.
a home she's in danger of losing. It started with a man coming to her doorstep about 2 years ago. Maria said he offered a deal on home improvement projects like double pane windows at first.
And I said, no, I'm not able.
But he was persistent. For Maria, it was more than a money problem.
So you can't see me, right?
No.
Maria is legally blind. She wanted to wait for her son.
And he told me, well, this promotion ends.
Did you tell him you were visually impaired?
Yes.
What was his response?
Don't worry, I'm going to read everything for you.
She didn't want to miss out.
And he said, no more than 6,000.
That's a $6,000 per year increase to her tax bill, so she moved forward. But when she got the bill, it showed an increase of more than $11,000 this year.
It seems very predatory.
On top of that, Alan Silva says the company who upgraded their AC never removed the old one like promised.
It kind of seems like some shady things happened to my mom.
This is a problem.
This type of financing is made possible through PACE, which stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. Carolyn Riley with Elder Law and Advocacy has heard of deception with this program.
So they're telling them it's a free product, it's a free government program.
She says loans are approved for seniors on fixed incomes who can't afford them, and she's handling many cases from the elderly who say financing wasn't explained.
They're desperate because at some point it's going to lead to foreclosure for them. I don't know.
This woman didn't want to use her name, but she and her husband live in this Poway home.
We wound up with a $40,000 bill.
She says A1 Solar sold them on solar panels. She had no idea a lien would be placed on her home in addition to increased taxes. She also alleges something even more surprising.
I was not happy with the salesman coming in and going to the computer and signing Jim's name to the documents. I don't think Jim fully understood.
Michelle Glenn is their caretaker and also signed on with A1 Solar.
It does say that it would go on your property tax.
Right.
When did you not realize that in the beginning?
No, because he rushed us through it. He says, oh, everything is fine.
I called the salesman they say went to their home. He told me he had nothing to do with A1 Solar. Before I could ask any more questions, he hung up. I searched the contractor's state license board website. It shows A1 Solar's license was suspended for multiple complaints, including misrepresentation to obtain a contract. A lawyer for the company says they are now out of business.
If there are bad apples in the barrel, you need to get them out of the barrels.
Supervisor Diane Jacobs says the PACE program has generated about $400 million in projects and has created thousands of jobs.
Will the county continue with the PACE program?
We will continue with the PACE program because overall it's been very successful.
But these three women disagree, saying it only helped them get way over their heads in debt.
Supervisor Diane Jacobs says she's only received a few complaints about the PACE program and believes it works for many people. Experts at the Approved Home Pros, a contractors association, says the PACE program can be a good fit for some homeowners, but it is important to be educated before committing to it. Recently, the governor signed legislation which would provide more oversight for this type of financing. A 10 News viewer told us about this issue. If there's something you want us to look into, send us an email at team10@10news.com.
All right, so I think that video is an excellent summary of what we've talked about so far and a few things that we're going to be talking about momentarily. But just to kind of wrap up what we're talking about in regard to the illegal PACE assessments, some ways that you can figure out if this assessment is illegal, if not all homeowners agreed to the assessment. So like the woman in the video who felt that maybe her husband didn't understand what he was signing and the contractor signed for her. There's multiple issues there. If the homeowners didn't actually sign the documents, like we saw in the video, and if the documents were in a language the homeowners did not understand. So if, for example, an individual is a native Spanish speaker, then they are legally entitled to a contract in their native language. Contractors can mislead homeowners about the nature or the cost of the program, and that would make it illegal as well. if the homeowner doesn't understand the program or if they don't qualify. And then the ability to pay analysis that we discussed earlier can be either inadequate or incomplete or misleading. And then any other factors potentially bearing on the legitimacy of the transaction could make it illegal. So if there has been an illegal PACE assessment, or you feel there has been an illegal PACE assessment, I'm not going to get really deep into the county tax appeal process today, but there is a way to appeal the PACE assessment. And we have this handy dandy guide. So if you are interested, please feel free to reach out via our website or our contact information at the end, and we'd be more than happy to provide this resource to you. Just a few other items to note, not just for PACE, but really any contract you're signing. Please don't sign anything that lists an email address for you that you don't recognize or that you can't access. Important documents will be sent to that email address, and you won't be able to read them if you don't have access to the account. Please don't let the contractor or anyone else tell you what to say when you're reviewing the financing terms with the PACE administrator. So in order to get the funding, you will likely have to answer some questions. And sometimes contractors can be actually heard in the background coaching these lower income or elderly individuals as to what they should say. So don't let them tell you what to say. And know what you're agreeing to and how it will affect you in the future. I think at one point in the video, they were talking about how the contractor made them feel really rushed, that they, this is a limited time offer and it's going to expire. PACE has been around a very long time. Home improvement contracts, also a very long time. They're not going anywhere. So really taking the time to read through the contract, know what you're signing and what it means for you can save you a lot of heartache down the line. We also spoke about the right to cancel. So you have a right to cancel your home improvement contract within 3 days or 5 days if you're 65 or older. As I mentioned, PACE has been around a long time. Even if you've signed the contract, but you're still within this window and you're thinking, maybe I need to reevaluate, do some more research, that's okay. You're well within your right to cancel the contract. And it shouldn't be too difficult to find a replacement if you do decide that that's something you want to move forward with. But best to know what you're signing and how it is going to affect you. So if you have fallen prey to PACE, there are some various avenues to go through. Complaints are a big portion of it. So I believe at the end of our presentation, we have a slide with links to all of these various administrative agencies that you can file complaints with. And then on the other side, we have a few other avenues for relief, such as filing a bond claim against the contractor, which Lisa's going to tell us how we can go about looking up a contractor's license. And the bond claim information is usually included in there as well. And then the tax appeal is yet another avenue. And if you'd like more information on that, please feel free to reach out at any time. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lisa Anderson, to talk to us more about home improvements and contractors and scams and what we can do to protect ourselves.
Great. Thank you, Taylor. What a wealth of valuable information. And as you said, the scams and the fraud has been around forever. It just reinvents itself and has new names with a little bit of new twists and turns that, can keep us in those same categories. So it's important that we have these types of sessions so you can understand the latest as to what is happening in the communities revolving around scams and different things that we face in our community. And so just a little bit, again, about Tzedek. We've been around for approximately 50 years. We're the only provider of law services, elder law services in the city and county of Los Angeles, and we're nationally a recognized leader and continue to serve low-income seniors and those who care for them. And so, as Taylor mentioned earlier, I'm from the Elder Justice Unit, and in my unit, we deal with conservatorship issues, elder abuse restraining orders, financial elder abuse, real estate fraud, which some of this falls under, in-home support services, Medicare estate planning, power of attorney for finances and health, and simple and statutory wills. And so if you're in need of any of those types of services, please feel free to get in touch with Tzedek, myself, online through our website, and we can assist you with these types of services and provide more community education as well. So let's just jump into fraud. So other contract or non-PACE contractor fraud is what we're looking at. So we're looking at contractor fraud that is not affiliated so much with PACE. So traditionally, so PACE is not the only type of homeowner improvement contractor fraud. Other forms of financing uses door-to-door sales to sell improvements that people don't need and can't afford. This includes roofing work, again, the solar panels, water fillers, tree trimming, plumbing, a variety of different things. Financing can be secured by properties like a mortgage or an unsecured credit card. Major players include a variety of different organizations, some hosting solar, some hosting roofing, and a variety of different things. Next slide. Continue with non-PACE contractor fraud. Much of the advice from PACE applies to all types of contractor fraud. And so that means read your documents. Practice healthy skepticism. If you're feeling that something may not be accurate, take your time and figure it out. Go with your feeling. Go with your gut. Check licenses, which we'll talk about that. Shop around. A lot of times you get somebody that gives you an estimate, you get 2 or 3 estimates, you'll see a variety of differences in those. So we want you to shop around. Use your right to cancel, which we just kind of looked at that, the 3-day right to cancel. Always be sure that with any type of contractual obligation you are a part of related to contracting, make sure that you get a physical document that is your 3-day or 5-day right to cancel, okay? You should have that document as part of your package. Complain to regulators if you do incur a problem or have questions. These companies make sales by making you feel rushed, so be sure to slow down. There is never a rush. The sale is never going away, and you will always have opportunities to secure this type of funding and work for yourself. So shop around. Next. So home equity fraud and home renovation repair scams. While there's $1 billion spent on home remodeling and repairs every year, you should be aware that home remodeling contractors ranked in the top of the Council of Better Business Bureau's list of the most consumer complaints for several years in a row. Be especially cautious about using the equity in your home or your home as a security for a home improvement loan. If you fail to repay the loan as agreed, you could lose your home. Older homeowners are popular targets of fraudulent home repair financing schemes because they're likely to live in older homes that need repair. They build substantial equity and they're less likely to undertake home repairs by themselves. In addition, older homeowners are more likely to be vulnerable to high pressure sales pitches, and sometimes they really need the work right away and feel compelled to fall victim into some type of contracting scheme. Next slide. 7 signs that your contract is a fraud. The contractor is reluctant to give out a list of references or discuss the details of previous projects. And so your contractor won't give you a list of previous clients. You can't verify any of the contractor's references provided. No one seems to have heard of the company. You can't find anything online. It's a good idea that you may want to stay away. A lot of times, legitimate contractors will have some type of portfolio with work and references from other projects that they've completed. So don't be afraid to ask for that. The contractor doesn't think the project needs permit. A contractor who is not willing to procure the necessary building permits for the project he is proposing to undertake is a red sign. Pretty much almost any work that is done on a single dwelling or on a community homeowner association type of dwelling will need a permit. If you're putting on a new roof, if you're doing some plumbing, there needs to be a permit taken out, and also the inspector's office may want to come and inspect the work before the job is deemed acceptable. The contractor doesn't want to give a line item cost breakdown and a list of materials. Any contractor who says that a written contract is not necessary or who refuses to put the terms of his work in writing may be illegitimate. And so in that sense, if you get a estimate that says $8,000, but it doesn't break down the terms, materials, and the different functions of what comes to that $8,000, then you might want to think that this is an illegitimate contract. You don't want a contract that just has a ballpark figure and doesn't break down the components that came to that figure. So be aware. The contractor tries to push unwanted project extras. So if you're being nudged to pay for work or products that you didn't want, then it could be a sign that something is off, such as the energy efficient products, the solar panels, windows, paint, etc. And so maybe you're getting roof with some painting and they say, no, well, you got to get the windows as well. It's a package deal or what have you. Be mindful that you can pretty much select any items that you want on the contract that you'd like to go forward with. The contractor offers you a deep discount. Incredibly, a discount. It's irresistible, especially if your resources are limited. But don't let this fool you. 9 times out of 10, as I say, shop around. You will get a variety of different estimates, usually within a similar ballpoint. And so if you're getting this $8,000 estimate and now somebody's saying, oh, we can do all this for $3,000, the bottom line in no estimate, be mindful that you could be falling into something that may not be to your best interest. The contractor asks for a significant upfront payment. A contractor who only accepts cash payments, for instance, is not likely to be legitimate. Similar, a contractor who insists that a certain price is good for that day only and for a limited time may be trying to pressure you as a client to engage in their services. While a small down payment is often required for certain renovation and home building work by the contractor, by law, the contractor cannot ask for more money than is allowed by the state government, and that amount is approximately 10%. So in other words, on this $8,000 job, if the contractor is saying, I need $4,000 to get started, then be mindful that that's not appropriate. Technically speaking, they should be asking for a 10% down payment and setting up some type of payment plan or financing option on how this is to be finalized. You have a bad feeling about the contractor. If the person speaking to you doesn't make eye contact, avoids answering your questions, offers unclear, uncommitted responses, then trust your gut. Take your business elsewhere. So as I said earlier, you're having a funny feeling about this. Something just doesn't make sense. Then hold on to that feeling and know that you can get this services from any other contractor perhaps that you sought out, okay? A contractor who does not have a government-issued contractor's license should be questioned. You should not let anyone who is not licensed in the state of California do any type of contracting work in regards to your home. To verify that a contractor is licensed, you will contact the state contracting licensing board at slb.ca.gov, and we'll go into that later on in this presentation as well, a little more thoroughly. Next slide, please. So protect yourself in the beginning. Be skeptical of anyone who approaches you with an offer for home improvements. So then again, those are usually the door-to-door people. Hey, this is a government program. It's free for the elders. All your neighbors got the work done. Be mindful of that. If you need work done on your home, shop around. We talked about that. If you're being involved in a project, read all the documents carefully and ask questions about the terms you don't understand. Don't feel pressure that you've signed the document and it's ready to go. And the other thing to be mindful of is a lot of times people will tell you, oh, just sign here. It only says XYZ, sign right here. If it takes you an hour to read that document, make sure you read it and understand it before you sign. Do an online search into any program or company or individual before you commit to having them work on your property and sign in a contract. And again, check the contractor's licensing information for that individual. We're going to be repetitive in that statement. And reach out early for help if something seems wrong. It's okay to ask questions. And if you don't understand, that's okay too, because you need to understand what you're getting involved with before it moves any further. Next slide. Next slide. How do I protect myself when hiring a contractor? Making sure the contractor obtains permits if the job requires one. You can contact your city property assessments office. You can contact your city building inspector's office and tell them the type of job you want, the area you're in, and they'll tell you if a permit is needed. They'll tell you if a permit was filed. Ask for a copy of the contractor's license and proof of insurance. And so, again, we're talking about the licensing information. And so proof of insurance is a very good point. That is insurance to know that the individuals or the company working on your property is licensed, but not only licensed, but bonded as well. So Taylor mentioned bonding. And so bonding is basically a special insurance that a contractor has to cover them for any type of mistaken job, have done job, or anything of that nature, a claim in regards to the work of that contractor. So they should have a bond on file through a licensed insurance company, which one can then file a complaint through the California Department of Insurance to reach the insurance company for that contractor's license. Pay by check, get a receipt. A lot of times we suggest don't pay in cash. You can even pay in credit card, some type of way that you can then have information to justify your payment in case there's a discrepancy. And lastly, document any changes to a contract in writing. So no verbal information. If there's going to be some changes, slash it, initial it, and document it in the contractor writing. And I think we have more in protecting yourself on the next slide. So come prepared, protect your budget. So you kind of know, well, in some cases you don't, but if you don't know, start thinking about it. How much is this water heater assessment going to cost? So we saw it was an $8,000 project in one of the examples earlier that ended up being almost $80,000 over a 20-year term. But then looking at the assessment of fees, it was about a $38,000 project from $8,000. So if you decide that you want to do a project and get the roof done, maybe you've gotten a couple of estimates, make sure you kind of start researching or checking with other people to find out what does this type of project cost. Be prepared. And now in being prepared, what type of budget do I have to pay for this project? These are things that we want you to think of yourself as opposed to saying, oh, it's a government program, it's free for seniors, so on and so forth. Check the listing sites for top rated and reviewed contractors. So we can always do online searches these days. Who does the best plumbing work in the 90045 area code? There's a variety of ways to search that information. And you can also contact the contractors board and licensing board for some tips and information also. So hire licensed contractors with insurance and bonding. So again, we're repeating the licensed contractor. with insurance and bonding. Don't be afraid to ask for that information. A legitimate contractor will have it right there on site, usually with their portfolio information to show it to you directly. And not only that, on their contract, it should have their contractor's license number on the physical paperwork. Get a full project scope from the contract and get a little crafty with it if you need to. Next slide. Next slide. Checking a contractor's license. So we've been talking about this over and over and over. So go to California State Licensing Bureau. So that's cslb.ca.gov and click check a contractor's license. It's very simple. Search by the business name. So the prompt will come up, as you can see in the illustration, the business name, the individual's name, salesperson's name. So there's a variety of different sources within that checking that one can do. And then look at that information. You can cross-reference it from one to another. You can click on their complaint disclosure information if there's multiple complaints, if the company is no longer in business. So all of that information will be in this licensing history. And if there's something you don't understand, something you have questions about, speak to a representative at the contractors board. It is a state organization and they're open from 8 to 5, and they have a phone line set up for any individuals who has questions or needs help in regards to a contractor filing a complaint or getting more information. Next slide. Avoiding scams, do's and don'ts. Reiterating things we've talked about. Don't sign anything without reading and understanding it fully, including electronic and iPad signatures. So as we've seen in some of the other examples, but it applies all the time. We know a lot of times the seniors may not have email access, computer access, and things into this electronic world that we're in. You can always ask for a hard copy. If one cannot provide you with a hard copy, then you may not want to do business with that organization. No matter what copy you have, if you do not understand it, do not sign it until you have full understanding of what the contract entails. So if you need to talk to family members or what have you, call organizations, contractors board, Tzedek, whomever, then please do so. And we will assist you in getting some understanding of this contractual obligation. Don't feel pressured into signing something quickly. It's a sales tactics, and that's across the board with anything. Oh, the sale's going to go away tomorrow if you don't do it now. It's always a rush. It's never a rush. Believe you, when I say that they want your money the next day to do the project as well. So it's not going to be a rush really for the sale. And if there is a sale with legitimate companies, the sale reoccurs on a frequent basis. So you can check with the company's corporate office and find out when that sale 30% may come up again or whatever the case may be. But don't feel pressured like you must do it today, like we saw in the video, and it falls apart. Don't believe what they say verbally. What counts is what's in that written contract. So be clear on that. A lot of times, oh, don't worry, we'll just do this, we'll just do that. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Don't let them create an email address for you. So we talked about that as well. It's an email address someone else creates for you that you have no access to. And if you have no access to the email and you may not even understand emails, anyone can get that information, start using it, and it can lead into a variety of other things, more so than just the scam of this, okay? Do not get the name, do get the names and the contract details of the contractor and the solicitor and research whether they're licensed. So again, we're talking about that licensing information and the link is right there. If for some reason you can't remember it, just always type in your search bar, how to check a contractor's license. Do remember the 3-day right to cancel. That exists for all, I'm going to say for most door-to-door sales contracts, and exercise if you're unsure. Your Civil Code section 1689.6, 5 days for seniors over the age of 65. And we say most because we're not monitoring all the sales that are out in the community door to door. But if we're talking about contractual obligations in regards to repair work, roofing, plumbing, and things of that nature, those types of contracts are pretty standard in our communities for a variety of different types of contracts. Do insist on a copy of anything you sign. So a lot of times organizations, especially door to door, when they come, they may have you sign on a pad or something like that. And they say, oh, we'll send you the copy tomorrow. I'm sorry, no can do. Then I can't sign if I don't have a copy right here and there. If you can't print me out a copy or have 2 copies, one for you and one for me, then I'm sorry, this contract will not exist. So please keep that in mind. And if you need help, it's always best to contact a lawyer or an organization to get some assistance. Next. When to ask for legal help. Prevention is better than a cure. Tzedek has free monthly homeowner protection and foreclosure prevention clinics on the 4th Tuesday of the month, which is coming up. Speak with an attorney and a housing counselor from Neighborhood Housing Services and get legal information, advice, and financial counseling specific to your circumstance. Sign up at AVFP Clinic application form.com or call 323-648-4715. You can also email us at pace@betzedek.org for all other inquiries.
And I do just want to note here that you don't have to be on the brink of losing your house to a scam or, in foreclosure immediately. It's so much easier and less stressful for you if you're willing to reach out to us. We're more than happy to speak with you. And as it says here, prevention is better than a cure. So if you're just unsure about a situation or a potential contract, talk to someone you trust, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to speak with you. And it's all free of cost.
Protect yourself. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you feel you've been scammed, then please get in touch with us or other organizations for information and help. Here are some useful agencies in regards to homeowners. You got your LA County's Recorder's Office for real property. You got your LA County's Assessor's Office for the tax assessment. You have your HUD housing counselors, Los Angeles County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, California Department of Real Estate, California Contractors License Board, CSLB, we've talked about them a lot, California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau as well. So these are just the beginning sources of organizations, state and county, that you can contact if you feel you've fallen into some type of situation that needs help in regards to home, in regards to contracting, in regards to fraud and things of that nature. Next slide.
I think that's
it. Looks like if you have any questions or comments, then this is our general information, our intake at betzedek.org. That number is 323-939-0506. Again, my name is Elisa Anderson. I'm your elder abuse prevention advocate. Here's my information here. Taylor Anstuff, the staff attorney in the housing unit. Her information is there. I believe this information will be posted, so you'll have access to it all the time. But when in doubt, you can always contact our intake line. Give us your scenario and we will get you into the right attorney or advocate who can assist you with your concerns.
Thank you everyone for being here, and we look forward to hearing from you. We're more than happy to, again, be a resource, answer questions, and this recording will be posted. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay.